tied vote and the victory of a motion by one vote. Please help people understand what's going on.
Let's start with the tied vote, and that was on an amendment to a motion which I'll come on to describe. But Hilary Benn, the chairman of the Brexit Select Committee, demanding another round of indicative votes on Monday. There was a vote in the House of Commons, and it was tied at 310 each. The Speaker, as is convention, has the casting vote.
Yep.
The other convention is that the Speaker always sides with the status quo. And the status quo in this case is that it should be government time, not the time of MPs, and therefore that he should vote against the Hilary Benn amendment for indicative votes on Monday. He did that. Now, of course, Nigel, you might be scratching your head and thinking, and your listeners might be scratching their heads and thinking, well, why would the Speaker, given his form, suddenly turn around and take away the opportunity for MPs to vote again on a number of softer Brexit options? And the reason is this, because Theresa May has committed, if the talks with Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour leadership break down and she cannot reach an agreement on the customs union, that she will bring forward more indicative votes on Monday. Now, of course, there was some soft whipping going on during the last round, and that's why, or one of the reasons why, the Common Market 2.0 from Nick Bowles and the Customs Union plan from Ken Clarke didn't pass with a majority. What would have to happen is for Theresa May to change the whipping arrangements to either offer a completely free vote without any soft whipping and allow one of those motions to pass unimpeded through the House of Commons. Now, on the main motion, that was the Yvette Cooper motion, that was to take control of parliamentary business so that within the next 5 hours, the entire process for a piece of legislation blocking a no-deal Brexit can pass through the House of Commons and pass through the House of Lords. It is not unprecedented, it is extremely rare. It has happened in 1911 with the Official Secrets Act, it happened in 1936 with the Abdication Act, and it happened in 1974 with the Prevention Against Terrorism Act in the wake of the Birmingham pub bombings. It passed by a single vote in the House of Commons. So as things stand, Yvette Cooper has the numbers to get through, and she's speaking in the House of Commons now, to get through her bill binding the government to go back and seek a much longer extension if it is unable to pass its withdrawal agreement.
Yeah, so basically, Theresa May has said that she will not go for a no-deal Brexit without the support of the House of Commons. This vote tonight would, if you believe the Prime Minister, which is not always easy, but if you do believe the Prime Minister, would effectively kill that hope off for Brexiteers. Absolutely.
It's not indicative, it is legally binding. It will become the law of the land for the Prime Minister to seek an extension if she cannot get her withdrawal agreement through the House of Commons.
So, Theo, the House of Commons will sit now till the early hours of the morning?
Early hours of the morning. I should just also say we have our first readout literally just dropped onto my phone as I came on air, Nigel, from that 2-hour meeting between Theresa May and Jeremy Corbyn.
Yep.
A Labour spokesman saying, we have had constructive exploratory discussions about how to break the Brexit deadlock. We have agreed a programme of work between our teams to explore the scope for an agreement. I've just been speaking to Claire Perry, one of the ministers within Theresa May's cabinet, who's just told me that from her understanding from the government side, the discussions between Theresa May and Jeremy Corbyn were professional and constructive. Of course, what Theresa May has said is that the government is now going for a customs union. They realise they can't get through the withdrawal agreement without the support of Labour votes. The 1922 committee is meeting as we speak. Vitriol, anger, fury amongst Conservative MPs in Parliament this afternoon after what was a hostile PMQs for Theresa May, where she faced, two Exocet missiles, firstly from the former Brexit Minister David Jones, who wanted to know why she was doing a deal with Marxist, as he termed Jeremy Corbyn, and then Lee Rowley, the MP, Brexit Tory MP, who again was wondering why Theresa May was abandoning her policy despite the fact she's been defeated
and
3
two
times.
ministerial resignations.
And two ministerial resignations, quite right for pointing that out. Nigel Adams, a supporter of Boris Johnson, has gone from the Wales office, and Chris Heaton-Harris has gone from the Department for Exiting the European Union. And in his resignation letter, Nigel, he claimed, and it was an extraordinary claim, that the preparedness of Great Britain, the UK, for a no-deal Brexit was actually much further advanced than Theresa May was being briefed by her own officials. And he said that civil servants within his former department had actually made significant progress in making sure that the UK could withstand a no-deal Brexit, and that the implication was that Theresa May had been misled by her own team as to what would happen if we leave on April the 12th without a deal.
Yeah, amazing. Theo, thank you very much indeed. What extraordinary stuff, isn't it? You know, we had live on air last night on this show the speech by the Prime Minister, the press conference, where she said she's now going to work with Labour to get through her new treaty with an amendment to the political declaration saying that we would sign up for a customs union. This leading to fury, anger within Conservative ranks, 2 resignations, but I suspect what's going on out in the country is even more fundamental than that. And then we have a whole series of cross-party groups, parties getting together. I wonder, have we now reached a point where Brexit is bigger than party politics? And we could be headed for the most fundamental change in British politics since the end of the First World War, which saw the Liberal Party, as they were, being replaced by Labour. Is massive party political change coming to this country. And if you think, no, it's going to stay as it is, whatever happens, because of the voting system, call 0345 6060 973. Or maybe you think Brexit could lead to a total realignment of politics, text to 84850 and tell me, are our politicians and our parties and our leaders acting with dignity during this crisis? Please text or tweet using the hashtag Farage and LBC at LBC, and of course Facebookers, you can, and you always do, comment there too. Now let's just listen, before we go on, to the SNP today. Nicola Sturgeon, again, these party lines being crossed, not just Corbyn in number 10, but Nicola Sturgeon. Here was her comment on her meeting with the Prime Minister.
The Prime Minister doesn't offer too much of what she's going to do and what her own views are on anything. She says she wants to get a deal through. But, you know, I still think I came out of that meeting not much clearer on where she is prepared to give ground than I was before I went in. But maybe we'll see some more move on that later.
And other meetings going on, indeed, you know, other opposition parties, small opposition parties, all getting together, and they were represented in a sense by Ian Blackford, again from the SNP, being the biggest of those parties.
There is a clear determination that all of us have that we do not want to crash out of the European Union with no deal, that we've got that option to revoke, and we must have that debate and come to a consensus in the House of Commons before the European Council meeting that in all eventualities there must be a people's vote.
Everything being done to stop a clean Brexit. Everything being done to stop a no-deal Brexit. Everything being done, depending on your tastes, to stop us crashing out. And huge efforts now for a second referendum. Isn't it amazing? We've now got half a dozen political parties backing a second referendum. But is all of this now bigger than party politics? Is Brexit the issue that will reshape the whole of British politics for years to come? I have to say, I'm beginning to think that it could, because what we're seeing is people now self-identifying as being Remainers or Leavers ahead of being Liberal Democrats, Conservatives, Labour, perhaps even SNP and all the rest of it. I think we could be looking at a situation where Brexit itself was a very small result. There could be massive change coming. I have to say myself, it would not be overdue. I really believe we can't go on with parties like these two big parties being broad churches. Surely massive change needs to come now. That's my view. Christina is a first-time caller from Eastbourne. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Nigel.
So...
Yes, it is bigger. It's absolutely bigger than Brexit. Brexit is just the symptom, not the cause. This has been brewing for a long time. We've seen Parliament, politicians, the political elite acting with impunity, sneering, the white van man sneers of Labour.
Oh yeah.
All these other comments. They despise the very people who pay their wages. And this is the Brexit is just the sort of the touch paper and the flame of something that's been happening to our political classes for a long time. The complete disconnect between themselves and the people they purport to serve. And this, I disagree with you when you say it's a political crisis. This is a national crisis. All the foundations of Parliament, all the protocols from Bercow making up rules as he goes along and so forth, just doing anything to try and stop us doing something that we voted for. But what they have to understand is that they are a tiny minority immured inside Westminster, and we are 17 million extremely angry people.
I know. Christina, the reason I say that is because back in the 70s, we didn't just have a Labour government under Jim Callaghan that was beginning to fail and in the end lost a confidence motion. We actually had, bodies not being buried, litter piling up in Leicester Square outside the studio where I'm broadcasting right now. I mean, there was a genuine feeling that we were the sick man of Europe, indeed, in many ways, the sick man of the Western world. And whilst there's great anger in the country, actually, jobs and business are continuing.
Business are continuing, but this is another point. This is not just about whether we are this year officially in a democracy or a dictatorship, where she's probably going to get tanks on the street and police out to sort of crush angry people.
Who knows?
Or it could happen. It's happened in France. But this is about international reputation. Do you want to do deals with a country that hitherto had a reputation for decency and honesty and is now the grubby chicanery?
Okay, no, Christina, I concede you're right, I'm wrong. It is actually a very major crisis at every level. It's an international crisis. We're becoming a laughingstock around the world. Thank you. You're listening to The Nigel Farage Show here on LBC at 6:15. Time for the news headlines with Lisa Aziz.
The Labour leader says he's had constructive exploratory discussions with the Prime Minister today on trying to find a way out of the deadlock over her Brexit deal. A second junior minister has resigned this afternoon over the Prime Minister's handling of Brexit. Chris Heaton-Harris has quit over the delay, saying the UK should have left the EU as planned last Friday. Families of the Hillsborough victims say they still have no closure after a jury failed to reach a verdict in the trial of the match commander on duty on the day of the disaster. LBC weather, more rain overnight, mainly affecting the southwest and northeast of England. Clearer elsewhere, a low of -1.
LBC Travel, I'm Louise Knight, and there are delays of an hour and a half heading southbound on the M1 towards an accident before Luton at junction 10. An accident in Isleworth's blocking the A310 Twickenham Road both ways near Bush Corner. And there are delays on Wickham Road in Shirley, which is blocked with an accident eastbound at Orchard Avenue. Now, ahead of tonight's football, Tottenham High Road shut from White Hart Lane to Lordship Lane. On the tube, severe delays on the Central Line as well as the Hammersmith and City Line. And for the trains, Thameslink are warning of 20-minute delays from St Pancras to Blackfriars.
Brexit. Follow it live on LBC.
You know your business, what keeps you up at night, and the moments that make it all worthwhile. You know your 5-year plan, and that you really want to be there in 2. We know we can help you get there. Barclays offers unsecured loans of up to £100,000 that can be with you in days or even hours. To apply for a loan that's right for your business, search Barclays Business Loans. Let's go forward. Subject to status, T's and C's apply, guarantee may be needed.
Hi there, I'm Jill from Network Rail with some important news if you're travelling over Easter and the early May bank holiday. As part of ongoing work to improve the railways, we're carrying out essential rail upgrades across different parts of the UK. From Friday the 19th to Monday the 22nd of April, and from Saturday the 4th until Monday the 6th of May. This means some services will change and some won't be running. To keep your plans on track, make sure to check before you travel at nationalrail.co.uk/Easter.
The high-quality kitchen you've dreamed of at a price well within your budget. That's Room Sense.
That's Room Sense.
This month, all kitchens are half price with a free oven hob and extractor. Book your free home design visit today at roomsense.co.uk.
Quality at a price you can afford. That's Room Common sense.
Offer ends soon. Minimum spend applies.
Oh, I found one of our new Vauxhall Griffin editions.
Yes. What comes as standard?
Standard? Well, alloy wheels, sat-nav, aircon, DAB radio, Bluetooth, smartphone projection and USB connection.
Wow. Is that everything?
Sorry, forgot the colour touchscreen.
Buy a new Griffin edition, Adam, Astra, Corsa or Mocha X Plus and get a whole host of features as standard. The Griffin edition range. All Griffin, no bull. Visit your nearest retailer now. Vauxhall, British brand since 1903. Participating retailers only. Limited units while stocks last.
For low tyre prices you can't compare with National Tyres and Auto Care. Exhausts, brakes and batteries too. And we've got a branch close to you. And now you can spread the cost over 3 equal payments with our payment assist plan with no interest and no fees on selected purchases. Call for a quote on 0800 687 687 or find your nearest branch at national.co.uk. National Tyres and Auto Care, helping you spread the cost of motoring. Minimum spend, terms and conditions apply.
Buying workshop delights and travelling to meetings off-site. The client wants lobster for tea and then there's a conference across the sea. Fancy client biscuits, last-minute train tickets, light bulbs, booking flights, meeting snacks, black cabs. You do the maths. Say hello to Soldo. All expenses paid. Prepaid business expense cards for you and your team, so no one has to spend their own money at work. And Soldo connects seamlessly with Xero. A win-win for you and your business. Find out more at soldo.com.
Leading Britain's conversation, The Nigel Farage Show. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
Party lines breaking down. Big meetings today going on in Downing Street between Theresa May and Jeremy Corbyn. Number 10 say, today's talks were constructive, with both sides showing flexibility and a commitment to bring the current Brexit uncertainty to a close. We have agreed a programme of work to ensure we deliver for the British people, protecting jobs and security, which you can take means staying in the customs union. Labour officially respond by saying, we have had constructive exploratory discussions about how to break the Brexit deadlock. Gosh, it's almost like a mirror, isn't it? We've agreed a programme of work between our teams to explore the scope for agreement. Folks, what is going on here is the political establishment are joining together to absolutely make sure that your vote in that referendum does not become a reality. We have the big guns of both Labour and Conservative doing their best to keep us trapped inside the customs union and no doubt with single market rules too. And I believe, as a result of this, actually traditional party politics is breaking down. I think we could be close to very major political change. That is my thought. I think Brexit is bigger than party politics. I think party politics and Parliament cannot cope with this issue. And what you're now seeing is career politicians coming together, allying against the popular will of this country. That's my view. Tell me I'm wrong. 0345 6060 973. Your messages coming in. David says to me by SMS, the House of Commons has a majority of 1 tonight, and that's enough. How come a majority across the country of 1.25 is not enough? Oh, David, forget the referendum. We've moved on from that. The House of Commons now think they're really in charge. On Twitter, we do not need to realign our parties, but the MPs and the Commons will probably vote against that ever happening as well. In the end, they can't stop it. In the end, you've seen more resignations today. We saw Nick Bowles resigning the whip last night. Things are breaking down. Things are changing. Ben says to me, this is unreal. The fact that it could be a law for not being able to leave us with no deal. If that passes, we are remaining. That will bring about the new change in political parties. Well, Ben, that is what is happening tonight. By a majority of 1, the House of Commons and the House of Lords tonight will debate a piece of legislation that says we must not leave with no deal. We must not leave with a WTO Brexit. We must not have a clean break from the institutions of the European Union. I keep using this word betrayal. Maybe tonight, later on, is the ultimate moment where our political classes betray the will of the people. And not just the will in the referendum, backed up in a general election, and now opinion polls showing a clear, solid, big lead for no deal against any other option. I'm staying in Westminster and speaking to Chris. Hi, Chris.
Nigel, hello, good evening.
Good evening. So, Is Brexit going to break down our existing political parties?
Well, I do agree with you. It is a political crisis, and I think it's looking increasingly likely that might be the case. But I wanted to ask you a question actually about No Deal Brexit. I'll make a couple of points. So it appears to me there's a real misconception about No Deal. No deal doesn't actually mean no deal with the European Union. It means no withdrawal deal. It means leaving without a deal, which means the withdrawal deal is then dead in the water, which leaves us an opportunity to then begin negotiating a deal with the European Union. But there's this huge misconception that no withdrawal deal means no trade deal, which I think is a misconception.
Well, okay. I mean, no deal means no formal trade deal, although there's nothing to stop it coming later. And it's just the terminology, Chris. But, of course, there are deals already been agreed on aeroplanes, on citizens' rights, and on so many other things.
That's right. Another point as well. Was it Theresa May that said no deal is better than a bad deal?
Well, actually, Chris, it was me. I said that in the last 10 days of the referendum. She then picked it up. The trouble is, Chris, she never meant it.
Well, she never mentioned either whether or not no deal was better than an atrocious deal, which is really what we should be talking about right now.
Well, it is an atrocious deal. And sorry, Chris, can I stop you? It's not a deal. Listen to Monsieur Barnier yesterday. We played the clip last night on this show. It's a treaty.
Yeah.
She is asking the House of Commons to get behind a new, international, legally binding treaty that is desperately tough to get out of. And, Chris, I'm going to put this to you. This treaty is so bad, it could break the Conservative Party as we know it.
Yeah, I think the signs are there that could well happen. But let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that the deal doesn't get voted on.
Well, I tell you what, I'll keep my fingers crossed the deal doesn't get voted on, but I won't keep my fingers crossed that the Conservative Party and Labour parties, as they are today, stay together. They are failing us, Chris.
Yeah, they certainly are. It's definitely a political crisis.
It's a huge one. But do you see, I mean, because, my point, and I did cede to the caller before the break, that internationally it's a crisis and that we look very weak. But actually, do you sense, as I do, Chris, that normal life is still going on?
I do sense that normal life is going on, and I've heard a couple of things recently that have just infuriated me. One of your guests on LBC a couple of weeks ago was saying, if we leave with no deal, then you'll go to Europe and your European health insurance card won't be valid, and there'll be people untreated, dying in hospital wards, and people who can't afford. Well, what happens when you go to the United States? What do? Your e-hit card isn't valid out there. What do you do before you go to the States? You take out travel insurance, and it costs you £10 or £12.
Of course.
We just have to do the same.
Of course. Chris, thank you very much indeed. Another Chris says to me, there is no trust left. Our politics is changing. The Tories and Labour have had their day. Well, Chris, it's very tough to break the first-past-the-post system, but we are closer now to a massive realignment in politics because of Brexit than at any point in any of our lifetimes. Politics will never be the same again. Both major parties have proved themselves to be untrustworthy and undemocratic. Michelle is a first-time caller from Lancaster. Good evening, Michelle.
Good evening. Thanks for taking my call.
Not a bit. So, Michelle, Brexit is a huge issue. I think it's beginning to break the parties down.
Hopefully, and the sooner the better. I've been listening to Gerard Batten today, speaking at the European Union, and picking up on what one of your callers said yesterday. It's the only job that you don't get fired from immediately for doing badly. He's levelled the word treason at Theresa May, which Juncker found funny. He was doing a bit of a snigger to that. Which is rather annoying under the present circumstances, where we seem to be ever shifting towards being kept in the European Union against the will of 17.4 million people. I know that your question tonight is, are our MPs out behaving with dignity?
Yeah, I was, yeah.
No, they're not. In fact, far from it. And I'm amazed that Theresa May is still president, and Prime Minister, sorry.
Wow.
We're not in America, are we?
Call it what you will, yeah. Go on.
I am. I would like to know as well. Are you going to field candidates for somebody for me to vote for that will actually honour the will of 17.4 million people?
I mean, Michelle, here's the problem. That we have, in most parts of England, we have a two-party system, all right? It's Labour or it's Tory. There's the odd Lib Dem here and there. The question is, if there are new different parties fielding candidates in the next set of elections, could they upset the apple cart by starting to win large numbers of seats? Is Brexit going to break down the system as we know it? And it's not an easy question to answer.
Right. Well, I'm certainly not going to be voting for Labour or Conservative. I want to vote for somebody who will honour the will of the people. I realise that it was a close vote, but a win is a win. And there's all kinds of reasons why a win should be honoured, not least of all for our democracy.
Actually, Michelle, it was a big win, not a small win. Michelle, thank you. It was a win by 1.3 million votes. Tonight, by one vote. One vote. Parliament is about to legislate to stop us leaving with a clean break exit. I really don't think the bubble of Westminster, and that means not just politics but media and many others too, have any idea how the country feels right now. I think we are closer than at any point, certainly in my lifetime, to politics breaking as we understand it. I believe Brexit is bigger than conventional party politics, and that big change could be just around the corner. You're listening to The Nigel Farage Show, exclusive at LBC. It's 6:30 and time for the news with Lisa Aziz.
The Labour leader says he's had useful but inconclusive discussions with the Prime Minister on trying to find a way out of the deadlock over her Brexit deal. Jeremy Corbyn spent 2 hours in her Commons office. Scotland's First Minister also had talks with Theresa May, but says she's not sure whether she is willing to compromise on finding an agreement. Families of the Hillsborough victims say they still have no closure after a jury failed to reach a verdict in the trial of the match commander on duty on the day of the disaster. 74-year-old David Duckenfield always denied the gross negligence manslaughter of 95 Liverpool fans in 1989. He may now face a retrial. A senior military commander says the decision by British soldiers in Afghanistan to shoot at an image of Jeremy Corbyn for target practice was a serious error of judgment. Tonight, the Labour leader says he's shocked at the footage that's emerged from Kabul. LBC weather, more rain overnight, mainly affecting the southwest and northeast of England. Clearer elsewhere with some mist and fog too, a low of -1.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Weekday mornings from 7. LBC.
Jeremy Corbyn now meeting with Theresa May in an attempt to break the Brexit deadlock. Tom Baldwin, who's Director of Communication with the People's Vote.
A kind of Brexit which is going to disappoint millions of people. That is not a way to heal these divisions.
So what are you going to ask
then?
then?
The next referendum, Nick, needs to be a real thing versus a real thing. It can't be a unicorn. There are lots of promises which can't be met.
And that's the way to put the country together.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
With Xero, get your business digital ready with Xero accounting software.
LBC.
When your business is in flow, things get done, new contracts won, smiles all round, everything's sound. Hands on deck, your best year yet. And then an unmissable opportunity comes up. A real no-brainer. iWalker Online, loan in time. People hired, feel inspired.
Whatever your business, our finance can keep things flowing. We are iWalker. Search it how you say it. iWalker, helping business flow.
For hundreds of years, Indian food has been about sharing great food with the people you love. For over 5 years, Manjal Restaurant have brought North and South India together in the heart of London. And due to its success, now we've come to Chigwell Loughton. Experience the essence of India and make memories with Manjal. Book now at manjalrestaurant.com.
Buying workshop delights and travelling to meetings off-site. The client wants lobster for tea, and then there's a conference across the sea. Fancy client biscuits, last-minute train tickets, light bulbs, booking flights, meeting snacks, black cabs. You do the maths. Say hello to Soldo. All expenses paid. Prepaid business expense cards for you and your team, so no one has to spend their own money at work. And Soldo connects seamlessly with Xero. A win-win for you and your business. Find out more at soldo.com.
A 5-star vacuum cleaner. Powerful, manoeuvrable, this baby is the real deal. From cat hair to cobwebs, this sucks in everything in sight. Even you. That's right. This is a fake review, and I'm getting paid to write it. So while you're left with a dodgy vac, I'll be the one who's really cleaning up.
A fake review could cost you more than you think. A Which membership helps you avoid these lies. Search Which for impartial product reviews. Which, keep questioning.
The great British weather. One day you're cozying in with the family, the next you're chilling out in the garden. But whatever you're doing, Trusted Trader are always on hand to help. TrustedTrader.com have lots of really lovely tradespeople who are vetted, reviewed and reliable, unlike the weather. So for roofers who stop the rain coming in, gardeners for when the sun comes out, and other professionals in their trade, simply visit
TrustedTrader.com. You know your business, what keeps you up at night, and the moments that make it all worthwhile. You know your 5-year plan, and that you really want to be there in 2. We know we can help you get there. Barclays offers unsecured loans of up to £100,000 that can be with you in days or even hours. To apply for a loan that's right for your business, search Barclays Business Loans. Let's go forward. Subject to status, T's and C's apply, guarantee may be needed.
This is LBC, the Nigel Farage Show. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
They're all getting together. Theresa May, Jeremy Corbyn, the SNP, many others. In fact, there's half a dozen parties now that want a second referendum. There's going to be a series of votes tonight in the Commons, in the Lords, to stop us leaving with a clean Brexit on the 12th of April. We must not be allowed to be a free, independent country. That referendum must never, ever be allowed to come into being, and that is what is going on. A political stitch-up of the most extraordinary nature. A betrayal of the Brexit vote on a scale that even I could never, ever have imagined. And it extends, of course, to those they appoint to senior office. Like, let's go for Mark Carney, shall we, the Governor of the Bank of England. Here he was at his same old tricks again today.
I would say it's alarmingly high now. We're in a situation where the expressed will of Parliament is for some form of deal. So to put it in the double negative, as they've expressed it, Parliament is against no deal.
What about the people?
The government, as expressed by the Prime Minister, is against no deal.
Of course she is.
The European Union is against no deal.
Of course they are.
And yet it is a possibility. It is the default option. And so no deal would happen, as we sit here today, would happen by accident. It would happen suddenly. There would be no transition, what we have just discussed. It is accidental, disorderly Brexit. On the financial sector side, a huge amount of preparation has been done to take out the sort of extreme tail risk elements in the financial sector. And I would say to anyone watching this that in terms of there would be lots of things to worry about in a no-deal Brexit, but the financial sector is not one of them. We've got the back of the financial sector.
Well, that's a bit of good news.
I would then add, though, that financial stability, the system functioning, is not the same as market stability. It doesn't mean asset prices aren't going to change and the currency isn't going to change. And it's not the same thing as economic stability.
So the pound might go up, the pound might go down. The stock market might go up, the stock market might go down with a no-deal Brexit. So what? That stuff goes on every day of the week anyway. There was an admission there from Carney, wasn't there, that actually the country is ready for a no-deal Brexit. Chris Heaton-Harris, who I've known very well, we were elected together on the same day back in 1999 to the European Parliament. One of the reasons he's resigned as junior Brexit minister is because the government won't countenance us leaving on WTO terms, which he says we're ready for. But still, despite all of that, Carney puts out a negative message, as do all the apparatchiks and appointees of government. I think we are so, as a country, feeling so let down, so betrayed. At least half the country feels betrayed. Did you see that poll yesterday, published in The Sun today? 92% of Brexit voters think the establishment is betraying their vote. I think big change is coming. Liz on Facebook says, where is the 1922 committee when they need to get their backsides into gear? No doubt, Liz, being loyal to the party, after all. The party matters more than the country. The party matters more than the voters. The party matters more than conscience. And it's this mindset in Westminster that says to me things could change in a very, very big way. Let's go to Rob. First-time caller from Staffordshire. Good evening, Rob.
Good evening, Nigel.
Welcome.
Yes, at least it's a sunny evening, and I wish you a happy birthday.
It is my birthday, Rob. Thank you very much.
You share it with Claire Perry of the same age from the Conservative Party.
I do. I also shared it with the late Tony Benn, which I was happy about, and the late Helmut Kohl, which I was less happy about, but there we are.
But to answer your question, was it Brexit? Is it bigger than party politics?
Yeah. I mean,
Well, it inevitably has become, because it's the only thing that is in newspapers. It's the only thing that leads television newsreels. We've allowed it to become that. And what I don't understand is if I said to your guy on the phone, if, for example, Lord Bamford, James Dyson, you, Boris Johnson, Jacob Rees-Mogg had been in the negotiating team from day one, we wouldn't have allowed the European Union to dictate their terms. We would have said, here's the terms, here's the money, here's the keys, and we'll give you a certain date, and if you don't like it, then we're off. And yet we've been allowed to be bullied. What I don't understand also is why we're also concentrating all our efforts on a future relationship with the EU, because Brexit is about trading with the rest of the world.
Well,
it's not about the EU, it's about what we do worldwide. And on the subject of JCB, Lord Bamford, when the referendum took place, wrote to all his employees and urged them to vote leave because his company thrives outside of European Union rules. It thrives on world trade, and it's the biggest employer in my part of Staffordshire.
Yeah, and they've got the college, of course, where they're training young engineers, and I have to say, Anthony Bamford has done a fantastic job. Rob, I agree with you in one sense that a different negotiating team would have got a different outcome. But by the way, I wouldn't have said, here's our money, because to me, to put $39 billion down on the table in return for nothing was one of the biggest failures of that negotiation.
Yeah, but when I say here's the money,
I know, I'm teasing you.
In control of what we want from the negotiations, any red lines, they've been allowed to bully us. And as I say, Brexit is not about the EU. Brexit is about trading with the world.
Absolutely. So, Rob, is it possible, given where we are, that many millions of people will decide, to hell with the Tory party, to hell with the Labour Party, we need something different?
Well, they will, but it isn't just that, Nigel. I voted for UKIP in the past. I've probably been a Conservative voter for most of my life. But I've got a meeting on Saturday with Karen Bradley, who happens to be my MP.
Yep.
She's a Remainer. We happen to be in a constituency that voted something like 70-30 to leave. I'm not sure what to say to her. There was a meeting last Friday of the Conservative Association.
What about resign, Rob?
Well, yeah, but they wanted to put a motion forward about deselecting her, and they weren't allowed to do it under party rules, apparently. And then I noticed Dominic Grieve seems to suffer the same fate. My point on party politics isn't whether the Conservatives or the Labour Party survive, which I'm sure they will in some form. It's whether you want to vote for or re-elect any of the MPs that have let everybody down.
Oh, I know that, and they really have. They really have. Rob, thank you very much indeed. So I get a motion that passes by 312 votes to 311 votes, which is 0.16%. That usurps the 48 to 52 vote in the referendum, a difference of 4%. What is the point of Brexit if Parliament votes for an option which would deny us all of its benefits? I agree. Nigel, Brexit has broken the system. The Labour and Tory parties simply can't cope. The software needs updating and replacing, says Chris in Darlington. And I get from Lynn on Twitter, please explain how a couple of backbenchers can table an amendment that overrules the no-deal default. How is that possible? I'll tell you how it's possible. Speaker Burko is allowing all of this to happen. Let's go to Peterborough, speak to Elaine, a first-time caller. Good evening, Elaine.
Oh, good evening to you, Nigel, and happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much indeed.
I'm absolutely astonished by what's happened today. I cannot believe... Well, I suppose I can. First of all, to answer your question, yes, Brexit is bigger than either of these political parties.
I agree.
But I cannot believe that a Tory leader would sit down, and I have to say this, and I'm sorry, and I hope I'm not offensive, with a Marxist to try and broker a deal, excuse the pun, which actually goes against the majority of the people in this country. I cannot believe it. All this lady has done, it hasn't been negotiation. It's been capitulation.
And Elaine, according to the Daily Telegraph front page today, and I'm not saying they're wrong, but according to them, 14 cabinet ministers, half the cabinet now, would have countenanced us leaving with a no-deal Brexit, and she's decided to go with the leader of the Labour Party, who you call a Marxist, Elaine.
Yes, I do call him. I do call him a Marxist. I know. In the past he's been accused of all sorts. But I would ask: has he ever spoken to the Israelis? Have he ever spoken to the Ulster Unionists to broker peace? No, he hasn't. And I'm not a Tory voter, but I'm absolutely astonished, and I'm not sort of au fait with much party machinery anymore. And I know that May survived a vote of no confidence, but really and truly, I do question whether this lady's whether she can actually make reasoned decisions.
Well, many that question that, but isn't the point here that what's happening today with all these big meetings with the SNP and the Greens and Uncle Tom Cobley and all, actually what's happening is the political class are getting together to make sure we don't get Brexit.
Yes, and you see, the establishment can't cope with it because, of course, they never thought that we would win the referendum. They simply never thought that was possible.
They can't cope with it. The party system can't cope with it. But Elaine, here's the last question I'm going to ask you: is our response to this one of disgust and going down the pub, or is our response to this to fight them again in future elections?
Oh, we must fight them. We must never give up. It was so encouraging on Friday, particularly with it being a work day.
Yep.
We must never give up.
Elaine,
never, ever.
Passionate stuff. Thank you. Elaine thinks we must never give up and we must fight against our politicians betraying our will on Brexit. If you think Elaine's got it wrong or I've got it wrong, it's 0345 6060 973. You're listening to The Nigel Farage Show here at LBC at 6:45, and time for the news headlines with Lisa Aziz.
The Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn says he's had useful but inconclusive discussions with the Prime Minister on trying to find a way out of the deadlock over her Brexit deal. A second junior minister has resigned today over Theresa May's handling of Brexit. Chris Heaton-Harris has quit over the delay, saying the UK should have left the EU as planned last Friday. Families of the Hillsborough victims say they still have no closure after a jury failed to reach a verdict in the trial of the match commander on duty on the day of the disaster. LBC weather: more rain overnight, mainly affecting the southwest and northeast of England. Clearer elsewhere, a low of -1.
LBC Travel, I'm J-Louise Nice, and there are queues on the southbound M3 towards an accident between the M25 and Junction 3 at Lightswater. One lane is closed. If you're heading clockwise on the M25, it's slow between South Mims at 23 and Potters Bar at 24 as a car's broken down. There are delays on the southbound M1 of well over an hour towards an accident at Luton at Junction 10, and the North Circular is queuing eastbound from Neasden to Henley's Corner as a car's broken down. If you're about to head out of town on the A2, expect delays all the way from the Blackwall Tunnel to an accident at the Kidbrooke interchange. And ahead of tonight's football, Tottenham High Road is shut from White Hart Lane to Lordship Lane. Finally, on the Underground, severe delays on the Central Line as well as the Hammersmith and City Line.
Coming up at 7 on LBC, Ian Dale.
Lots to discuss on Cross Question at 8 with historian Sir Anthony Selden, former Theresa May advisor Chris Wilkins, Times columnist Jenny Russell and The Telegraph's Liam Halligan.
Ian Dale on LBC.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say that to you, but maybe not Mum and Dad. I don't think they would be able to do that.
Really? I think Mum will help us. I spoke to her about it before.
Really? What did she say?
I just think she will help us if she can at the time.
If she can, though.
Yeah.
I don't know. Getting onto the property ladder seems like a million miles away.
It isn't easy talking to your family about money, but it is important. The M word from Lloyds Bank. It's good to talk about money.
If you started your own furniture store today, you might not call it Fishpools. But if it was $18.99 and your name was Ernest Fishpool, well, it actually was. And he actually did. These days, Fishpools in Waltham Cross is one of the largest furniture stores in the southeast, with a stunning range of on-trend designs.
Get up to 30% off in our 120th Big Birthday Sale and see our furniture and home accessories in-store and at fishpools.co.uk. That's a website, Ernest?
Calling all hard-working minicab drivers. Are you the very best London has to offer? Yes? Then Greyhound Cars, one of South London's oldest and most progressive minicab companies, want to speak to you. Spend less time travelling to jobs and more time earning money. With a very busy day circuit, we have high demand and are now offering great bonuses and mileage rates for the very best drivers. You could pay as low as 10% commission. Start today at greyhoundcars.co.uk.
Your business has come this far, but now's your time to soar into the skies of spectacular with a fast, affordable Funding Circle business loan. With decisions in as little as 24 hours and a dedicated account manager, there's no waiting around. So join the thousands of businesses who have taken out a Funding Circle loan and help your business fly. Apply today at fundingcircle.com. Authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. T's and C's apply.
I had been to another dentist and had long conversations about bone grafting.
At Darwood & Tanner, our experience with dental implants often means bone grafting is not necessary.
When I met Andrew and he looked at the various x-rays, he said, you do not need to have bone grafts. He can work around places where there is no bone or there is little bone.
Download your information pack at darwoodandtanner.co.uk today. Your smile is our healthy obsession.
Buying workshop delights and travelling to meetings off-site. The client wants lobster for tea and then there's a conference across the sea. Fancy client biscuits, last-minute train tickets, light bulbs, booking flights, meeting snacks, black cabs. You do the maths. Say hello to Soldo. All expenses paid. Prepaid business expense cards for you and your team, so no one has to spend their own money at work. And Soldo connects seamlessly with Xero. A win-win for you and your business. Find out more at soldo.com.
Oh, I found one of our new Vauxhall Griffin editions.
Yes. What comes as standard?
Standard? Well, alloy wheels, sat-nav, aircon, DAB radio, Bluetooth, smartphone projection and USB connection.
Wow. Is that everything?
Sorry, forgot the colour touchscreen.
Buy a new Griffin edition, Adam, Astra, Corsa or Mocha X Plus and get a whole host of features as standard. The Griffin edition range. All Griffin, no bull. Visit your nearest retailer now. Vauxhall, British brand since 1903. Participating retailers only. Limited units while stocks last.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
The parties mean nothing. The leaders all coming together to try and do several things. The main one of which, of course, is to stop us leaving. To stop us leaving on the 12th of April with a no-deal WTO Brexit. And indeed, Jeremy Corbyn there today meeting the Prime Minister. This tonight is his first official response. He was asked where were his red lines on customs union membership.
Well, we discussed this at some length, and I put forward the view from the Labour Party that we want to achieve a customs union with the European Union. We want to have access to the market, and in particular we discussed the dynamic regulatory alignment, that is guaranteed European
regulations. That means they make our laws, folks.
Particularly environment as well as consumer and employment rights. So we did have a discussion about all of that, and this will continue tomorrow at a technical level.
When you looked into the Prime Minister's eyes, was she serious about doing a cross-party deal?
She invited us to the meeting, and I accepted the meeting to go there to set out our views. She did put out the government's view, but the whole thing seems to depend on accepting the withdrawal agreement as put forward at the present time in a legislative form. Clearly that has to be taken together with the future political arrangements declaration, and we did spend some time discussing that and explored some issues around future trade agreements.
Did you or your side raise the issue of your party's policy on a public vote?
Yes, we did. It was raised by me at the beginning of the meeting and said, look, this is a policy of our party that we would want to pursue.
Second referendum.
The option of a public vote to prevent crashing out or prevent leaving on a bad deal. There was no agreement reached on that. We just put it there as one of the issues that the Labour Party conference voted on last year.
Could a Conservative Prime Minister really, with the most left-wing leader of the Labour Party ever, agree to a permanent customs union in a second referendum? Well, I think in Theresa May's case, probably yes. Now, to back up to back up the thesis that I've been putting out tonight, that Brexit is bigger than party politics, that none of us are impressed with the shenanigans that are going on. We've just had in the last few minutes a Sky data poll that's been released. And 39% of people think the talks between Corbyn and May will make no difference. 29% expect the outcome of these talks to be worse as a result. And just 17% of people think that May and Corbyn getting together is going to be a good and positive thing. Got to tell you, whatever games are being played in Westminster, people become less and less impressed by the day. The gap between what people think and what the politicians think is getting bigger. Is it possible that Brexit is so much bigger than our existing parties that massive change is coming? Tony is a first-time caller from Nottinghamshire. Good evening, Tony.
Good evening, Nigel.
Welcome.
Brexit bigger than the parties at the moment? Yes, it is. And we need a party that is going to be able to take it forward.
Yep.
I've heard that there is a party called the Brexit Party.
I've heard about this, Tony, too.
Leader.
Yeah, I've heard about this too, yeah.
I happen to have paid my subscription to that.
Right.
I've marched with them from Wadworth to Worksop.
Right.
I came down by coach to Westminster on Friday. Nigel, you need to promote your party more. I've heard nothing on the news about it. It's a chance to have a wonderful leader who knows what we want for this country.
But Tony, me aside, Brexit Party aside, we have a first-past-the-post electoral system. And in the past, whenever there have been challenger parties from all, different sides of the spectrum, the answer is we still vote Tory because we don't want Labour to get in, or we vote Labour because we don't want the Tories to get in. Are we now identifying as Remainers or Leavers ahead of being Tories or Labour?
I don't know.
No, nor do I.
I personally, last time I voted for my MP, John Mann, because he has done a lot for my local area.
Yeah.
He has been wonderful for the area. But this time, every time there's a meaningful vote on Brexit, he's either abstained or he's not been in the House of Commons. He's just not doing what we need for our area.
But you see my point, Tony? I can see. I feel that Brexit is far bigger than party politics, far bigger than the existing system. But
it is, which is why we need a party like the Brexit Party to lead it forward.
No, fine. But when it comes down to it, under a first-past-the-post system, can this system be broken? No one knows the answer. Thank you. Jim is being really helpful on Facebook. He's saying, I bet you thought you'd be celebrating your birthday in a post-Brexit Britain. Unlucky. Yeah, all right, same to you, Jim. Let's go to Jeremy in Banbury, a first-time caller. Good evening, Jeremy.
Good evening. How are you, Nigel?
I'm all right. So, but I'm, questioning, despite the magnitude of Brexit, despite the fact that huge numbers of people are now disconnected completely from the two so-called main parties, is that enough to change things?
I don't know. But one thing, the main reason I called,
the
following. Now, I'm sorry, I am guilty of being deceitful to your backroom staff. I did make it seem as though I was going to say something the other way, but in actual fact...
You're not a liar, Jeremy, are you? You should be in Parliament, Jeremy. You should be in Parliament. You should give a manifesto to the people saying you'll deliver Brexit, then do the opposite. You'd fit in beautifully.
That's the circumstances I'm offering as mitigating my behaviour, because I'm so soaked in the wave after wave of Project Fear that at the moment I don't know what to do. I feel desperately furious. I feel frustrated. I can't understand how parties can run on manifestos and then completely ignore them. I can't understand at the age of 53 that I am, that the first time I've ever had the opportunity to voice my democratic right about the federal state of European Union they want to suck us into, that my vote is ignored. And so, Nigel, this is my message. This is my message to you and the rest of us. They're all out there frustrated because we can't do anything. I can't. I am powerless. I think, what could I do? Can I make a bomb? Can I...
Well, I'd rather you didn't do that, Jeremy, to be honest with you.
Naked or in my... But one thing I do think is that you, like people in the past who have been important figures in politics, like, dare I say it, Winston Churchill, and that was the last time this country was really at risk of losing its democratic freedom. You inspire. So at the end, when I get, during the day, so depressed, so incandescent with hearing a Bank of England governor, the governor of the Bank of England, talking absolute rubbish for the 18th time.
Help us.
Then I had the fortunate moment of meeting, who was it? John McDonnell, is it?
Bad luck. Jeremy, let me just ask you a quick question. Does what's happened and the way you feel make you want to give up and never vote again, or get back out there and vote for change?
I want to take up arms.
Right, thank you, Jeremy. Now, tell you what, folks, I'm never going to advocate taking up arms. I want us to do this peacefully, even though I understand why you're angry. Look, it's my birthday. I'm going off for a glass of something. I'll be back tomorrow at 6. At 10 tonight, it's Tom Swarbrick, but right now, it's Ian Dale.
You look very good for 66.
Thank you, Ian.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Right, coming up in the next 3 hours at 8, it's Cross Question, our weekly political panel debate show. We want your questions too. Sir Anthony Seldon, political historian, Chris Wilkins, former Director of Strategy for Theresa May, Jenny Russell, a columnist for The Times, and Liam Halligan, columnist for The Telegraph. We will obviously, I say obviously because it happens every night at the moment, we'll be doing a phone-in on Brexit after 9. But in the news hour, we'll follow what's been happening in Parliament. MPs have been voting. 310 to 310 was a vote earlier, and John Bercow did the right thing.